All right, good afternoon. In case you don't know, I think most people do, I'm Gerry Drabick. I work in the Learning Center. I'm the ESL technologist there, and I just want to give you some information about the Learning Center, what we do there. Most importantly, I think as teachers, when you can send students to the Learning Center or recommend that they go there. One of the points I wanted to make clear about the Learning Center, it's not just for students who are failing, right? So you have those students in your class and you can already see by the middle of week 2 that this person is going to have some problems, so they should, that person should go to the Learning Center. Really, it's for any students. It's for students who want to do better. Besides the EAP students that you see, there are a lot of other students who go there, and typically these students are getting, 80%, but they want to get 90%. So it's the students who want to improve and they just want to get some extra help. So it's really for everybody. So for the students, and I will be talking about the EAP students. So, but I wanted to start with just some situations that you might come across with students. So in these situations, what would you do with these students, right? If someone wants to get more speaking practice, where do you send them? Well, they want to get some time management skills. Help with multiple choice tests. They're having problems with their homestay family. They're not getting fed. You can't understand the person because of their pronunciation. What would you do with these people?
Isn't it case by case? Like, if you want more practice in speaking English, you would go recommend the conversation circles.
Excellent, thank you. Susanna's been here for a few years, so she knows this stuff. Time management skills. Students need this. I mean, they always say that they're busy, right? Multiple choice tests. I'll give you a hint. Two of these, Tyler's going to help me with that. Time management?
I was correct. The multiple choice ones.
Well, I was thinking about their test. Yeah, okay, so for the IELTS test. I'll give you a hint. 2 of these items, you would not send the person to the Learning Center, but the rest of them you would.
Homestay parents.
Definitely the homestay parents, of course, they would go to the international office and speak to somebody there. The other one? Go ahead, speak up.
Getting their essays edited.
Exactly. And that was something that, when I went to the Learning Center about 6 or 7 years ago, they really wanted to reinforce that we are not editing essays. And I'll explain about what we do for students who are interested in writing, but no one is going to the Learning Center, EAP or post-secondary, in order to get their papers edited. That's not helping the student learn, right? And it's not a service that they can expect. So, but with all the rest of these time management skills, the multiple choice tests, besides seeing Heather, they could, there are people in the Learning Center who can help them with this, with all of these things. So here's a shot of our happy group. This was from yesterday. You can tell by the poppies. There was a recent photo. There have been some new faces added recently. The one on the left, Susanna Green, she's our math technologist. Next to her is Sam Diamond. She's the ESL technologist. Sorry. She's the English technologist. She's the English technologist. She meets with the post-secondary students. Marilyn Henry, the third from the left, she's doing peer tutoring. Used to be Bonnie McPhee. I've been with peer tutoring from the beginning. Bonnie's on medical leave. Next, fourth is Chantal Davidson. She's math. In the middle there is Cheryl Mills, and so she does the help with multiple choice tests, time management, things like that. And then we got Scott, Steve, and Gerry. So today I just wanted to give you an overview of some of the other services that we offer through the Learning Center, and then I'll get into the stuff that you're most familiar with, helping the EAP students. So Cheryl Mills, I mentioned, she's doing study skills, so she does various workshops. Schedules can be picked up in the Learning Center. Most often she's doing these through one-on-one appointments, and she's helping students with things like, how to read the textbooks, how to take the multiple choice test, note-taking skills. Time management is one of her big concerns as well. So she helps people with that. Liz, if you want to grab some of the others. And she does a lot more. Honestly, typically, Cheryl's the one who gets the criers. The students who come in and they're failing and they don't know what to do, and they're, family issues and all of this stuff, it just gets all kind of meshed together. And so Cheryl is really good at sitting down with those people, talking them through the issues that they're having, maybe telling them where they can go to get some support. But that's really that's her main function in the Learning Center. For math and science, and this is probably, I'd say, like the majority of the students who are going to the Learning Center, if you've been there, you've seen the space, there's lots of tables and desks, and the students are going there to get the math help. And it's not just like your regular calculus class that students will get in first year. There's the finance math, which is very specific, accounting math, things like that. There's math and the chemistry courses that students are taking, the physics as well. And this is all by drop-in, so a little different from the way that Sam and I operate, but the students just go to the Learning Center with their textbooks. It looks like the library, basically. They're working away on their assignments and their projects and their homework, and then when they have questions, they just put up their hand, and there's someone there to help them with the math stuff. I don't know a lot about math. My mother was a high school math teacher, so I do have like the genes. I think I have an inbred kind of attraction to math, but it was never one of my strong points. I hear the explanations, and it's always like the background. To me, it just makes sense what they're saying. So I know that they're very highly skilled people, and a lot of those people have been there for fun. I forget when the Learning Center opened, but they've been there for like almost 10 years. Some of those people, they're very good at helping students. And these other courses that I mentioned, if available, it really depends on who we have staffing the Learning Center at that time. Susanna Green, who I mentioned, is the math technologist. She's there full time, so she does like the regular hours. And then there are other people who work part time in the Learning Center, so based on their skill set. Chantal Davidson has a PhD from Cambridge or one of those utility schools, and so she's able to help with chemistry. And Scott's really good with physics. So when they're available, students can get that help, and there's a schedule posted. So the students know to check that. So it's not always available, but as much as possible, we try to provide that. Steve, who is the guy on the right in the photo, he is good with economics, the business stuff. He's taught some of the business courses, so he can help students with those. So besides just the English and the ESL and the math, there are these other subjects that we're trying to provide services for as well in the Learning Center. Peer tutoring, Maryland sees a lot of traffic this way. I think peer tutoring is underutilized by the EAP students. I think they look more towards me and other resources in order to get some help with their ESL classes. There are students who I think we can encourage more to use peer tutoring, using it properly, because there have been rumors about students using it as a writing editing service, and we try to discourage that as much as possible. Peer tutoring is great, I think, because it's always a great sell for the students who are coming into Fanshawe College. The parents love it. There's an open house coming up in a few weeks, and I know they'll be explaining peer tutoring. And when the parents hear about this, like the students, if their child gets an A or a B in one of the courses that they're taking, the following semesters, their child could be a peer tutor. They get $15 or $14 an hour, whatever the minimum wage is. They get paid that in order to help somebody else. And it reinforces that learning that they got in the original course. So besides getting really strong grades like that A or B, they can continue on and teach somebody. We all know that when you teach somebody, you learn the subject a little better.
I have a question. I'm just wondering, sometimes international students have asked me, can they be a tutor? Tutor somebody, for example, in math or not?
It depends on their visa.
Yeah.
The way I understand it is the EAP students cannot be peer tutors. They're not allowed to work. But when an EAP student becomes a post-secondary student, and I think their visa or the restrictions on their visa changes, then they can become a peer tutor. But they have to have taken the course. So it's not like, oh, I'm a writing tutor. No, it's a student who took RIT 1034, and then they can tutor in RIT. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
So it's not just like they just don't hang a shingle. It has to be tied to the course that they have already taken. And it's really, really like $25. One of the big selling points we emphasize when speaking to incoming students, it's $25 for 5 hours. So at $9, because the peer tutors are getting $14 an hour. The difference is made up by the FSU, and I think there's also some funds that come in from the college as well to support that. But really good way for people to get help. And the last point there about the students with limited availability. There are students who come to me and they want to have an appointment, but they know that they've got this schedule now that's basically from 10 until 3 most days of the week, and they have childcare issues or family issues or something like that, and they're not available. They wouldn't be able to come into the learning center anyway. So peer tutoring is a great option for those people. And again, for $5 an hour. I don't know where you're going to find it for $5. Something like that. So peer tutoring. That's why it's done through the Learning Center. The other one's Samantha Diamond, who some of you might know. She taught ESL before. She's doing the English help for the post-secondary students. So she's working mostly on writing materials with the writing process. She does a lot with citations and references. Students are always baffled by this. And so she has the handouts that she gives them and explains what they need to be doing in that case. RIT supports, when you're taking the RIT classes, our EAP students, a lot of them go to RIT 1034, so if they need some help. Presentation skills as well, she can help people with. And she is available for the EAP students. So if I'm not available, or someone just feels more comfortable with Sam, they can make an appointment to see her. So we have that kind of crossover that way. I see some post-secondary students, and she picks up the slack with the EAP students. So those are most of the other services in the Learning Center. So I want to move on now to the services that you're most familiar with, that I offer through the Learning Center. First one is conversation circles. So I think this is probably, I know definitely when I came into this position, this was the most high-profile part of the job. When I was taken around and introduced to the international office and stuff like that, it was always like, this is Gerry who's doing the conversation circles. Actually, I was introduced as, this is the new Bev, which I stopped pretty quickly. I'd rather just be Gerry. But everybody knew about conversation circles. I was shocked. I remember, because I was teaching for a couple of years, I knew about the conversation circles and things like that, but I was just really impressed at how many people outside of the school knew, or SLLS, I was surprised at how many people actually knew about conversation circles. So it was really remarkable. So the circles, you probably know this. I mean, I go and visit most of your classes. They're twice a week. We have about 50 facilitators, and I say 50 facilitators. With each session, we probably have that many. There's a pool there of about 30, and I know some people have helped out with this before. I haven't seen who have been volunteers there as well. The sessions, I think of them as topic-based, so we have a different topic that we discuss every day. I think that's important because the students need to be learning new vocabulary and talking about different subjects. If we didn't have these sheets with topics and questions on them, it's going to be the same conversation, right? Have you been to Tim Hortons yet? What country did you come from? When did you get here? And it can get a little repetitive. As somebody who lived in Japan for 10 years and always being, the first question you were asked was well, how long have you been in Japan? It was just standard. I kind of know how the students would feel if they were always asked the same questions. So, so topic-based. This is probably one of the most fun things that I do in my job. Every session, I think I leave and I'm just pumped. It's just so much fun just to sit down and chat with people and have a conversation. Just let the conversation go the way it just naturally wants to progress. So, I love the conversation circles. There's an example with the handouts. This is the one we did yesterday, actually, on cities. So you can see the number of questions that they have. There's lots of questions. The facilitators are advised to pick out the questions that they like the most. They are now getting these. I know Heather and Steve, it was different in your day. You got them on the day of. One of the volunteers said, "Why don't you send them out early?" So I send them out early now, they get them on the Friday before. It's up to the facilitators whether they want to review the questions, but, I always tell them, pick out the best ones. You're never going to get through all the questions, so you might as well choose the ones that are the most interesting and use those. For you, yeah. Who are the facilitators? Good question. Roughly half of the people come from the community. So they're people who they know someone at the college, people who are just interested in having a volunteer experience. We've had retired people before. The other half are graduates of the EAP program or post-secondary students who, again, want volunteer experience. For the post-secondary students, if they do 10 hours of conversation circles, then they get approved for their co-curricular record, which the students use when they're applying for jobs. It shows that they've done some volunteer work. It backs it up that way. When I first heard about the CCR, I thought, well, I guess I can add it. It's a draw for the facilitators. I was shocked, how many people would do their 10 hours and then dip out. I got my piece of paper, it's oh, really? I thought you were a little more the volunteer spirit. No, it was I just want their certificate. That's fine, I think they went in with the idea, and it worked out. 10 hours would be rough. It's not exactly, but it's roughly one of our terms. So. And there's always, I think, a lot of it. The way I think it's changed over the last maybe couple of years is that the EAP students are seeing this kind of as a goal for them to be recognized as having good English skills. So I'm getting more EAP students in levels 9 and 10, and also graduates of the EAP program, once they get into the post-secondary program, that they want to be volunteers. To the point now where, for the first 3 or 4 years I was doing this job, I had to heavily ask and advertise for volunteers, and I haven't really needed to do that in over a year and a half, I think, because of just the word of mouth and the way that people recognize it and see it. And this is, a student brought this up last week, and maybe I should mention it to you guys. The purpose of the conversation circles, the way I really see it is just get the students talking, having fun speaking English. Let them realize that this can be an enjoyable experience. There is something about being able to express yourself in a second language. One of my bosses in Korea kind of uses this as a put down of one of the guys at headquarters. Because we were an international language teaching company, and my boss would say, "Oh, this guy doesn't even know how to speak the second language." And at the time, I was like, so what? And then it's but when you are able to express yourself in that second language, that feeling that you get, the sense of satisfaction, wow, I was able to communicate, and stress that, with other people, it's an amazing feeling. And, I spent a lot of time in Japan, so I had that experience. And so I know what my boss was talking about, and I want the students to get that same feeling. Now, to communicate, of course, we all know that means you're just getting your idea across. You're able to express yourselves. Students should not go to the conversation circles with the idea that they're going to get every sentence corrected. And there was a student last week who raised this, who said, the way I do it is I divide up by going into groups, and this student knew that she was going to be with one of these graduates from the EAP program. So she came up to me and said that she wanted to be in a group with a native speaker. And so I had to meet with the student afterwards and say, and I've been with the student in the same group. I said, I didn't correct your sentences. If you made sense, good, you were able to communicate. It's about communication. It's about having fun. It's about having that regular conversation. So I always, and I explain this to the facilitators as well when we're going over their, what they should be doing during the conversation circles. You're not correcting every sentence, but you're encouraging the students to speak. And you're helping the students to have fun. That's their role. And that's what I want to achieve in the conversation circles. So this idea of speaking the perfectly grammatically correct sentence, I had to tell students, we're not doing that in this. And she would be somebody who, maybe she should go get a peer tutor. That could be somebody, and Marilyn knows and has people on a list who would basically ask the student questions, and the student would answer, and if there's a mistake, let the person know the mistake that they're making. Very much like a rote or a drill kind of situation. But the idea is to go and have some fun conversations. Having Steve, yeah, fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
They work. They're great. They are. You feel you leave and you're charged. So, yeah, that's what I like about them. Yeah. So this is just this is one of the topics. This is the topic that we used yesterday. This stuff gets posted on Facebook if you've seen it. Choosing one of the questions. So that's the conversation circles. Next one is the reading and writing workshops. So these are done once a week. We switched the day now to Monday because of the schedule change, right? Everyone's basically going to be here around 12 to 1 o'clock on Monday, so that's when we're doing the workshops. There's a theme or some idea that I pick for every week, so I'm trying to balance it between like the writing skills and the reading skills. We've been working on some writing recently. We just finished brainstorming. We're gonna this is one of the few times I'll go on to like a part 2 and do like a next step after brainstorming, probably writing a thesis statement. So we're gonna write thesis statements or topic sentences next. For the reading, vocabulary and context, we usually hit that once per term, so twice in that 4-month semester. A really important skill, I think. Summarizing and paraphrasing, I have this on here because you guys do it in your classes, basically. And it was something that I think one thing needed to be done in the workshops, give the students some extra practice. The last point there about student nominated, probably once per term, a student will come up and say, like, I really want to work on this skill. I thought that's a great idea for a workshop. So I come up with something. The summarizing and paraphrasing came from that. The students were having problems with summarizing and paraphrasing, so I worked that into the workshops. But yeah, at least once per term, someone comes up with an idea, which is great. So I like to have that flexibility, So people ask, like, don't you have a schedule for the workshops? It's like, I want a little bit of maneuverability in case someone says that they want to work on something. Okay, so that's what
I wanted to add with the summarizing and paraphrasing. Thank you, because in level 7 we have like a short window, a short period of time to cover that topic. It's just one topic among many topics, and yet you can go to the learning center and you can get more explanation, more help on that. So,
right, and some people do that.
And I think the students really improved, those who went to the learning center.
Oh wow, what a brutal. And no offense, but I always slam the teachers. Because I say, why do you got to paraphrase? Because the teachers say you have to do it. It's like, no one does it for fun. Why would you want to paraphrase for fun? But definitely, it's something that comes up. Sam hits this as well when she's meeting with the post-secondary students. And she sees a paper, and it's all quotes or something. If it's all quotes or a research essay, you can't do that, right? Some stuff you can quote, but some stuff you got to be paraphrase. That's the stuff that's outside the learning center. So we're going to have a look at appointments now. So the appointments, these are done in 30 minutes. Students are able to come in anytime before their classes or after their classes. So this leaves like Monday to Friday. I'm available like 8:30 when we open up until 10 when they have to be in their classes. And then it all becomes like a bit of a dog's breakfast from Monday until Thursday. It's all over the place this semester. But there's at least one appointment. Tuesday is my long night, so I'm here until 7:30. So I'm available. Some students have used that. I've had students here until 7. They tended to live in the neighborhood, or they were in residence, and they go home and have a nap, and then come back to their appointments. It worked out great. But yeah, those are the times available. The appointments, they can be a one-off. Someone comes in and says, just teach me about passive voice. Get it done in one session. Or they can be recurring. They tend to be recurring, so they're every week. They'll be at the same time. So like today, okay, we're doing this PD session, but at 3 o'clock I was supposed to be the student for pronunciation, and there was another student who was coming in for writing at 3:30. That's pronunciation guide comes in every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. The writing person comes in every Wednesday at 3:30. And the students can do one appointment per week. Right now, I think it balances pretty well. We're able to balance like the demands that we get for appointments and then the supply that we have available. They can make an appointment with either, so I'm available, Sam's available as well. This last point here about the students need to be encouraged. I know sometimes it's, as teachers, we try to do a lot for our students and we think, wow, I'm really going to help this person. I'm going to take this person down to the learning center and I'm going to introduce this person to Gerry and we're going to make an appointment together and crash and burn. It doesn't work. A lot of the time what the student is doing, they're following the teacher in order to get the teacher off their back and the student doesn't show up there. So, if you want to help the students, encourage them, motivate them, let them know, we're in F2001, get the student to make the appointment. That way, we're not wasting student time, ESL technologist time, or teacher time as well. So encourage them. Like, I see this so often, when students are brought in, they don't show up for their So encourage them, let them know they can come in. A lot of what they're going to do, if they're coming for an appointment, they're going to be doing some work, right? They're going to be doing a writing assignment. They're going to have something to read. They're going to have grammar exercises. They're going to have to do some work. Let them do this work as well. They need to be more the driver of their learning experience, be in control that way. So encourage them. Please don't bring them down to singing.
It's embarrassing.
What's
For the
embarrassing?
student, like being a student, you're being kind of like handheld to the.
It's with the best intentions.
I know,
right?
I know.
I really want to help the student. Maybe this person's just shy, and so it's hard for them to make an appointment. The teacher can't. So what? You're like take them to the learning center, take them to their classes, take them to their job interview, take them to the barber to get a haircut before the job interview. You can't do all these things, right? They have to do something for themselves.
Gerry, what do you do about students who cancel their appointments a lot, let's say at the learning center? Because I know you can get very busy, and there may be students that, you may backlog of students who want to see you. So, would you talk to the student, or what happens?
It's a basic 3 strikes and you're out. Yeah. We've been doing this for a few years now. When we went to the 7-week schedule, by the time you get through 3 misses, it's like we're at the end of the semester, coming in the following semester. But yeah, there have been some people who've been cut. So typically the first one, I'll be honest, I sometimes just let it go, or I will sometimes remind the person depending on my schedule. Right? But the second time, I'm letting the person know, hey, you've missed 2 appointments, you missed 1 more, you won't be able to take any more, you won't be able to make any more appointments for this semester. And then the third one, they get the notification, that's the third one they do this. It happens, not a lot. A lot of times after that first or second one, the student backs out. They send an email saying they're too busy, so they aren't going to be able to make it, and they're willing to give up that time for someone else. So that probably happens most often with the warnings. They know what they know.
No, I was just wondering because sometimes you have very busy periods, and a lot of students that may want to see you, so I was wondering about that.
Yeah, so that's why a few people get in the boot, or a few people withdrawing. Yeah, and it always seems to balance, like that one person who decides they're not going to take any appointments anymore, and I see somebody in the hall who is looking for an appointment. It works. And then to give you an idea of what actually goes on in the with the appointment. So the idea there, I kind of help the students. I'm not helping them with their writing. I'm not doing the writing for them. What happens is, for writing, the student they make their appointment, they receive the topic. So the receptionist is trained. She has files with writing assignments. The person books the appointment, so we don't waste an appointment, like the person coming in to see me get the topic. They get the topic right away. They get the topic, they bring that paper into the LC, right? I review it. At this point, I am assessing the person to see how much they can actually handle. There's some people who honestly can take one item and work on that. In general, though, people can take about 3 things. I find 3 points that they need to work on with their writing, and then that's what they focus on for the next time, right? Because this is somebody who's going to be doing your recurring appointments. They come with the paper, review it, let them know the areas that they need to work on. If the person needs handouts, I give those out. Most of the time, it's just enough just to mention it to the person. Because we're talking about things like, organization, we're talking about major supports, minor supports, things like that. But I do have handouts on like hooks, for example, which comes later usually with appointments because there are more important things to focus on than hooks. Yeah, so does that make sense? Yeah, they get the review, they get the paper reviewed, identify the areas. I'll give you an example. So in the this is one of the topics. This one, I kind of like this one because it can be used both with low-level students, and I do have stuff for 1-paragraph essays, and then stuff, we'll call it multi-paragraph, because I know in 6, 7, 8, we start to get into like 3, 4, 5-paragraph essays. So we'll call those multi-paragraph. This topic about city and country, it can be expanded. You can do it as a 1-paragraph essay, but it can also be done, it could be done as a 5-paragraph essay. So this one, this particular student we're going to look at, it was a multi-paragraph. So they're answering this question: would you rather live in the city or the country? And they get some, some directions, usually to include supports, to show why you enjoy that choice. Details and examples. So we're talking, major and minor supports. Not everybody uses the term major and minor support, so I try to use some other terms to describe it. And so assignment details. And then in one of the handouts you got was this one about would you rather live in the city? So this is a student, she's either level 6 or level 7. This is already this was probably her 3rd writing. Not bad, but still a number of areas to work on. So the student, lands at my desk, 4 o'clock. And I get this paper to look at. So while the student is waiting, I'm taking about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm looking at this and identifying the errors. There's a lot in this paper. There's a lot of stuff you can do with this student. So we had been talking about thesis statements before, and so I went there first, and I think that was the first area that she needed to work on with her thesis statement. I think she got too much information in her thesis statement. She also has some word form issues. So the too much information I'm talking about is like convenient. I think it's enough just to say, I'd rather live in the city because there are, certain conveniences and opportunities there. That's enough. There's stuff about for your life. It's superfluous. And the part about for meeting people, the only problem I think I have with this is that if you actually look at the body paragraph, she's not just talking about opportunities to meet people. She's talking about educational opportunities and job opportunities as well. So she's kind of gone too specific in this case. So with this one, we would talk about the thesis statement, right? It's okay to reduce it. Students sometimes need to have you guys probably know this, but they need to have it validated that it's okay to have a short thesis statement. Sometimes it's more powerful than something that's really long. So yeah, the student was advised, short it down, make the thesis statement a little shorter. And then I kind of did a 2-for-1er here because usually I would just focus on that. But there were so many word form issues in this writing. And they come up in the thesis statement as well, but I addressed it here. And there's ones that aren't even highlighted, an issue for the student. The student needs to hear that, right? So the student, again, this is something that the student can do, and the student is told that when they're doing their editing, go back, look at the different word forms, and, is this a verb that I'm using, or should it be the adjective form or the noun form? So that's issue number 1 with the student, right? I said there were 3. Second one, I looked at the one of the body paragraphs, and I thought the student was combining the major and minor supports into one sentence. Just advise you just to break that up, right? It doesn't have to become, I don't think it's going to change the length of the essay very much, but just to delineate, this is a major support, this is a minor support. Maybe she has another minor support to go with that major support. So, issues with that. And then the final issue with this person, I was in the big stuff, the concluding paragraph, which she was mentioning, minor supports in there and nothing to do with her predictors. So just a little heads up about the information that goes in the concluding paragraph. And I know teachers have different lengths that they like the concluding paragraph, so that's one of the questions, like how long does the teacher want it, and then we can figure out it's 2 sentences, it's just the opinion, if it's 4 sentences, you want to include the predictors, right?
I used to have a rule, just so that they would summarize the paragraphs, 1 sentence per body paragraph, just to get that habit. And then you can break that.
So Susanna was one of the 5 sentence including paragraph teachers. Right? Because there's your, oh no, like,
we have 3 body paragraphs.
But I always tell them, I'll tell you what I think you should have in here, but I'll give you marks. Your teacher gives you marks. What does your teacher say? Your teacher, Susanna, she probably wants 5 sentences. She wants the opinion. She wants 1 sentence for each of the body paragraphs, and she wants a question.
But I told them when you get into the higher level, you don't have to follow that rule. It was just so that they don't forget the summary. Because sometimes I would find that they would often forget the summaries from the body paragraphs.
That's a typical writing student. So something like that, right?
A transition for every sentence.
Looks like it's
Oh, you're right.
a major error in it.
There was another guy, Sinna, he probably one of us, and we were we went over it. We were howling that every sentence had a traditional, transitional sentence, yeah. Just killed us.
Well, at least you're using them.
That's right. There's also a reading exercise. The format is a little different, but it is the same one. This is about COCO. This would be for a student, I'm guessing about level 6, maybe level 7. They would do COCO, and you can see from the comprehension question, the questions get a lot of good vocabulary in here. And the second question about, how is it organized? Chronological, they have to learn this word. Chronological, compare and contrast, cause effect. Really helps them to remember this stuff. So there are always 10 comprehension questions with these reading exercises that they're doing, and they all contain some longer essay style questions. So this one about COCO, it's really asking the students to get into their opinion. I love this third one about making an inference. So they really have to think about this doctor who was raising this gorilla in a laboratory. How does the doctor feel about this? Really making them if I were the doctor, how would I feel? So really good. And with I like the longer responses as well, because then you can see their writing too. There's always a point. There's always the idea that you can tell them, yes, you've answered the question correctly, but then there's some grammar comes up.
This is a very good exercise because we would often, do you agree or disagree? And you would say, I agree, and that was the end. And yet the question would be worth 3 points, So
two have to be
more practice.
2 marks have to be for their explanation. So that's what a typical reading student or a student coming for reading will get. And of course, they take these home. They don't do them in the learning center. They're encouraged to not use dictionaries while they're doing this. Try to repeat what they would do for a test. That's reading. Grammar. After writing and reading, now it becomes kind of like a hodgepodge of other activities or other requests that students have. So a lot of grammar stuff tends to be the higher level students, to be honest. Asking stuff about this past perfect. How do we use that? I just a variety of ways. So I have a lot of handouts based on these tenses. So we would go over the particular structure, talk about how to use it, when to use it, when not to use it, and then that person would get some exercises to do. 10 questions, 20 questions, based on that grammar structure. They bring it back the following week. They get 10, 20 questions right, or they get 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. They call it the structure. There's also online activities I can direct them to. Sometimes it's a matter of just asking them a question, getting them to repeat or not repeat, give a full sentence response. Not as much as that. The students prefer the paper. That's grammar. Pronunciation, you have an example of some pronunciation exercises. So this is something I put together 10 years ago. Working on different pronunciation sounds. So L and R, not just, so this is at the beginning of the word. So we would be, just focusing on the L sound first, and then the R sound, doing a contrast, so they're doing one L, one R, and then doing the sentences as well. A few students are doing this right now. Two students are coming for pronunciation. So not a high demand, but certainly people who want to, they want to speak clear. There's one student who he was taking some appointments for writing. A lot of his issues were worked on, and so he kind of saw this as the next thing. He's an older fellow, and a lot of these errors are just fossilized, and he speaks very quickly. So we're working on this. That's pronunciation. So that's the Learning Center. That's what we do. What's that? That's great. It's on the postcards too. Yeah. Well, I mean, it does kind of encapsulate the Learning Center, I think. It's not like we're going out there, beating on the bushes trying to stir up students. It's like when the students need help, they'll come and find us. And we'll help. So, opening kind of any questions. Were there any questions?
Oh, I have a question. About the reading and writing workshops, you have like levels 1 to 5, and you have 6 and 1. So how do you handle that in the workshop? You might have different levels in your workshops.
Yeah. So that's a good question. So for a lot of the activities, I'll come with like two sets of materials, let's say, right? Like when we're doing vocabulary and context, it wouldn't make sense to put them all together, right? So, usually I would divide around like level, up to level 5 would be one group of students, and then 6 to 10 would be the other students. So of course, 6 to 10 it's going to be more advanced, and it's tougher vocabulary, sure. And most of the sessions are like that. The last one we did though on brainstorming, I mean, that doesn't need to be divided up. The topics that the students were brainstorming were easy enough that they could all just work together in a group. I kind of like those ones a little more. I feel like it's more inclusive. The students hate being asked what level they are. Yeah. And especially like in the workshops, I do have to divide them. It's like, it's not the 1 to 5 ghetto, but I think that's the way they see it. It's like, I hope it's not discouraging people from coming, but you have to do that, right? I mean, there are level 3 students who show up and it's like, here, paraphrase this, this sentence about, head trauma with bicycle injuries. Like, they'd be lost with that. So that has to be done.
How many appointments approximately do you get a week on average?
Those times, it's full a lot. Yeah. Usually by, what are we in now, week 2? Yeah, I'd say it's about 80% full. And by week 4 or 5, there's that. Well, I mean, like Tuesdays when I'm here until 7:30. I think the last appointment we'll go until 5 or 5:30 maybe. Here, today I'm here until 5:30. There's students coming in. 3 after this, so 4, 4:30, and 5 o'clock. So it's full. Yeah.
Your example of the guy that you said that comes in every week for the pronunciation, does he have to book the appointment at the end of the week for next, or does he book a series?
It's understood. Oftentimes when the student is making the appointment, I'll say, okay, so that's your time for this term.
Okay, so they can come each week at that time.
Right, and they know.
That's wondering why it's so full. But that would help. Help if you have these repeats.
It does, and so I don't know if you were here when we what happens if somebody doesn't come.
Yeah.
They get
3 extra.
Yeah. But
I didn't realize they could have 8 weeks of repeat sessions.
yeah, they can. I mean, certainly if, the student says like, they don't wanna come, they don't have to. And there have been cases with students who are like, wow, you start here, and now you're here. Do you need, and I've asked them, do you need more appointments? And they'll go like,
Well,
Yeah, I
like you
guess
said, they moved from reading to pronunciation,
And they-
so they're looking at different
of course
point
they,
areas,
yes,
right?
yes, and they have that option to continue. So maybe they came in first for writing, but then they decide, okay, I've worked on the stuff that I want to work on, I feel comfortable, now I want to do reading, that's an option. But there are other students who go, yes, I'm done.
Would you ever do like a pair scenario, like if you had two VFTD speakers, who happen to be in the same level, who want to work on consonant clusters or something like that?
So yeah, you're talking like grouping appointments, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like pairs or if they have similar issues.
Yes, similar issues with pronunciation, yes, and I've done that before. Yeah, with like two students who would come in, they would be exactly, they want to work on the same sounds, yeah. Two students who want to work on writing, I wouldn't do, because they're gonna have different issues. Right? And it's not possible to get on that.
Yeah, just pronunciation.
Yeah.
Pronunciation definitely is, and it has been done. So if you know some pairs, send them over.
Great, thank you, Gerry.
Good, okay, all right, thanks guys, thanks for